We can move to the side a little bit. It's too much in front of people. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Conscious Living. It's so nice to have all of you here today. I want to welcome particularly to our new friends who are visiting us for the first time, to you who are following us online at this time or at a later time. This is the Sunday meeting for Conscious Living Spiritist Group. We are a not-for-profit organization committed to the dissemination of Spiritism. We start our meetings with some announcements. And so this is a conference that happens every year, promoted by the Spiritist Federation of Florida. And this year is going to happen in the Orlando area. We have some speakers. All speakers are coming from Brazil. Divaldo Pereira Franco, Lália Bueno, Denise Lino, and Alberto Almeida. They will be here for the whole weekend, partaking in the conference in Orlando. The registrations are open, and we really encourage everyone that can to go to participate. It's a really incredible event. It's a lot of people from all the centers in Florida, centers across the United States, from outside of the country, come and join. It's a really an incredible day. 2 days of spiritual activities. There's also activities for the youth happening at the same time. I want to share with you that if anyone reaches out to you and say, it happens to me a lot, maybe you get some of that. Do you know of a Spiritist center in Utah, for instance? Actually, you may not know, but you can say, well, the United States Spiritist Federation has a website, and in the website, there's a tab where it says, find a Spiritist center. And in fact, I don't know if you knew it or not, but we have a Spiritist center in Utah. It just opened. And so this week, we heard about the center, and it's already on the website. So we'd like to share information about the Spiritist movement in English, so we all are aware and can help disseminating the information. Same on the Spiritist Federation of Florida. So that's not a tab, it's actually on the dashboard of the main page. And so you see there, get to know Spiritism and find a Spiritist center near you. And you can find all the Spiritist center currently, or almost all of them, who are operating in Florida. We have some ongoing courses here at Conscious Living. We have the Spiritist Review. We are on the first Spiritist Review, and that happens every second and fourth Wednesday of each month online at 6:30. Anyone can join at any time. We also have in English Genesis, the study of the book Genesis, that happens also online 9 a.m. on Sundays, and that is with David over there. The Spiritist Review is with me, and we have in the realms of mediumship. If 9 a.m. on Sunday is too early for you, we have 9 p.m. on Wednesday in the realms of mediumship. This study probably is getting close to the end, I would imagine, with Carlos Baruchi, but also everyone is welcome. This is our opening reading for today from the book Happy Life by the Spirit Joana de Angelis to the psychography of Divaldo Pereira Franco. Go for a walk outdoors. Calmly rediscover nature, which has blessed your life. Unwind and exit the surrounding turmoil by letting your imagination soar. Avoid crowded places and breathe the fresh air of the woods, the mountains, the sea. Revisit concepts. Relax and bless life in whatever form it takes for you. Your present existence is plentiful with what you need to be happy. All right, that's great. So take a moment in your very, very busy, and often our lives can get pretty chaotic. to just breathe, to enjoy the moment, to connect with nature, to connect with yourself. How about that, right? One thing that I like to do Sunday mornings is take my dogs for a longer walk, because during the week, short walks, there's not much time. And this morning I was walking and I was like, just savoring the moment. I'm walking in the middle of the streets of Miami Shores on my flip-flops and just enjoying that. And if we learn to do that, a lot of times in that moment, you are recharging, you're taking care of yourself, right? You're nurturing your soul, you're acknowledging the blessings of life and gathering the strength to move on into the week with all its natural challenges that we all have to face. So let's think about that and go for our initial prayer. So let's take a short moment, but meaningful moment to connect, to reach out in thoughts and feelings to God, to our Lord, asking for their presence, for the blessings, for each one of us at this moment to be surrounded and involved by this warm embrace of peace and harmony that can help us to land here fully and wholeheartedly, and to be open to receive the seeds of light in our hearts. May God bless all of us on both realms of life, and in particular, guide and inspire our dear friend who will be delivering the message of today. It is with gratitude that we say once more, thank you for today, for this opportunity, and ask you to bless us throughout this time. And so be it. That was our prayer, and today I would like to invite our friend Yuri Castro, who is going to bring us the lecture, Turn On Your Light. So, let's get to the lecture. Okay?
Perfect, thank you. Good morning, everyone. To those watching us online, to those here in person, for the people coming for the first time, big welcome. For those coming back, welcome back. I always say it's an honor and a privilege to be here, to be able to do this study, to be able to come here and share this amazing knowledge that Spiritism can provide us. And I always ask when we're doing the prayer that the spirits and the mentors, they can help me be the best instrument I can be to pass on to this knowledge, to inspire hearts and minds. And on our lecture today, we're going to be talking about Turn On Your Light. Just see how I can move here.
Not?
It's not. It's just showing here, but not showing there. Let's see, is it the presenter?
We don't turn full screen.
Apologize for the technical difficulties.
What is that? Can we get a little help for it? I would suggest switch it off, close it off, and open up again in PowerPoint. Go direct to PowerPoint.
There you go. Yes, awesome. Excellent, thank you. It'd be fine if we didn't have it too, but if we have it, we have a visual aid, so it's even better. The lecture today, or I guess the talk today is Turn On Your Light. And I want to start this talk by speaking about darkness. And I'm going to say here today that darkness does not exist. In and of itself, darkness does not exist. What exists is the absence of light. Some may say this is an obvious statement, pointless perhaps, but we'll see, because even when we take into account everything that darkness entails, when we think that darkness is the absence of light, we can also apply that to other things, other causes, other afflictions. Hunger is the absence of food and energy. Anxiety, the absence of patience, perhaps even faith. Prejudice, the absence of tolerance. Hatred, the absence of love. And when we think about this darkness or these concepts with this new look, we already have the key to what's missing. And this is powerful, because once we have the key, we change our perceptions and we know the power of the thoughts. And once we change our perceptions, we can change our reality just by knowing what is missing. And if we go even more subjective, a lot of texts and people, they mention about darkness, or crushing darkness, soul crushing darkness, and we think about perhaps darkness externalized through actions of hatred, through, like I said, actions of prejudice, of anger, and darkness internalized, existential emptiness, depression, anxiety, all these things. But the idea, the main point here with the darkness, and I wanted to start with this, is to give this optimistic view that it doesn't exist. What exists is the absence of light, such as with many other things that we see in our day-to-day. There are challenges to our existence in this realm, or the absence of something else. On the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life, psychographed by Chico, by our dear Emmanuel, there is a message, and that's the last one. It's called Let Us Shine Our Light. This is message number 180. For this one, and I brought it here, this is a very interesting message. It says, the anguish of our pain comes from darkness. Without the shining radiations from our own being, we cannot be seen very easily by the divine messengers who lend aid in the name of the Almighty, nor can we effectively help anyone, whoever that might be. So let's pause for a moment. Without the shining radiations, there's a twofold result coming from that. We cannot be seen by these messages of the Almighty, so we cannot effectively get help when we're dwelling in the darkness or the absence of light, nor can we help anybody else, like it says there, whoever that might be. It is indispensable, therefore, to organize our inner sanctuary and illuminate it so that the darkness does not overcome us. So that the darkness, however strong it may feel, however hopeless it may feel, we know that it's not going to overcome us, it's never going to overpower us once we illuminate our inner sanctuary. And the message continues by saying, it is possible to progress, to advance by using other people's light, but without our own, we are in constant danger of stumbling, of falling, of succumbing to the barriers that the life poses, because we're still in the planet in a realm where we're going to be faced with a lot of challenges, and without our own light, we can follow, we can progress with other people's light, but without our own light, we're in the danger, constant danger, he says, of stumbling. Therefore, take advantage of the sources of light along the way. This is interesting. So the sources of light along the way, meaning what? Meaning the people, these lights that other people are shining in our path, and we can utilize that. But don't become solely reliant on that, because what happens if the source of light moves away? Then you're left in the darkness, in the absence of light. So he says, therefore take advantage of the sources of light along the way. And then I think this part is interesting, because he says, use the wick of goodwill, the oil of service and humility, and kindle your torch for the journey ahead. So he's using terminology that's very interesting for the instrument to light, like a torch or a candle, and he's making these analogies that's very interesting. Thank those who light your way for an hour, for a few days, or for many years, but do not neglect your own lamp. And through the Bible, through the teachings of Jesus, which we'll see a few of them here, we have learned a lot about the light, about the candle, and the candle under the basket, and all of those things. There's a lot of analogies that we can learn from that. And Emmanuel finishes the message by saying, because it is impossible to advance without light. His category is impossible to advance without light. And on another book, unfortunately we don't have this one in English, Vineyard of Light, he says, I put it as an invitation that Emmanuel gives us, and right in the preface of that book that was psychographed in 1951 by Chico, he says, if the lamp illuminates by burning its oil, if the light bulb shines, consuming the energy provided by the substation, let us offer the instrumentality of our lives to the imperatives of perfection, so that the Lord's teachings reveal themselves through us, illuminating the path of others. So he's already talking about the instrumentality, so that through our own light that we can make ourselves instruments, radiating instruments to light the path of others. And this is the first metaphor I'm going to bring to you guys, the lighthouse. Doing a metaphor with the lighthouse in ourselves. If we think about the purpose of the lighthouse, we see that it's supposed to illuminate treacherous waters, where rocks are jutting out from the water, where boats are approaching. So it's illuminate these waters so these boats can navigate safely, easily. And the lighthouse is sitting on a strong base. It's sitting on a rock. It's not floating in the ocean. It's on solid ground. And a lighthouse turned off has very, very, very little usefulness. So let's think about ourselves. What Emmanuel was saying before about us bringing this light, illuminating the path of others. They're oftentimes going on treacherous waters. We need a solid ground on which to stand, and we need to let our light shine. Therefore, the title of this lecture, Turn on Your Light. Let your light shine, just like the lighthouse, so we can be like human lighthouses, and we can illuminate the path to others and ourselves. And on this another book that unfortunately we don't have the translation, I don't think, but it's the Harvest of Light. It's the same Living Spring collection, also psychographed by Chico, by Emmanuel. On this one, message number 60 talks about shining wherever you are. That's the title of the message. So it goes, observe around you the night of guilt, the darkness of delinquency, the shadows of obsession, the maze of trials, the furnace of indifference, the shackles of selfishness, the hideouts of ignorance, the fog of anguish, the clouds of suffering, the haze of tears. All very, very, this very heavy message, all very sad if we think about it. It's everything that is quote-unquote wrong. And he's using these analogies, which I love when he does that, by saying the darkness of delinquency, the shadows. So he's using terminology that reflects and relates to what? To light. Which, as we learn, darkness is the absence, so we already know what's missing there. And he continues by saying, take note of the areas of life where the needs of the soul obscure our paths, and extend help and understanding, peace and hope wherever you are. And there's another big message, for me at least, that he says that every creature is a source of life, because every creature is also a source of love. So this is one way that we can shine our light, both to ourselves and to others, is through love, to this very, very powerful feeling. And on the book, Right Path, I guess, we talk about the greatness of small things, and this is a similar concept that I brought in my last lecture about the lessons of the seed. It says, do not disregard the small things you can do for the happiness of others. No matter how small we think our light may be, or our light may shine, we'll never truly know how small it actually is. Because one look, one word, one gesture can change someone's life forever. If we remember I think it was Simon, his name, the guy who helped Jesus with the cross, one look from Jesus changed his life. So we must not, and this is an invitation, we must not disregard the small things, because we never know how much that would be. And this is a message from our daily bread that says, the most fascinating star in the firmament, although a spectre of divine power, in the darkness of night cannot penetrate the isolated hut where a mother's heart pleads for the presence of God, and there perform the mission of a candle. So no matter how bright the brightest star in the firmament is, in that small hut where a mother needs some light, it cannot penetrate, but a candle can. A candle is much, much smaller. So we see the importance of these things. And in the book, still on the greatness of small things, the book Intervals, also by Chico, psychographed by Chico, he talks about this. He says, let us remember that the candle lit at night is infinitely more valuable than the gold and diamond chandelier regrettably turned off. So upon a quick look, we think that that chandelier is much more valuable, but if it's turned off, it's not performing its duty, and the candle is. And the candle has more value than a turned off chandelier. And still on this aspect of the small things, because it's important, because we'll see that sometimes we hesitate to shine our light because of that. Oh, it's not gonna matter. It's something very small that I'm gonna do. I don't know if it's gonna have an impact or not. And there's always an impact, and we hope to make a positive one. I thought of Mother Teresa and her saying, where she says, we ourselves feel like that we are, what we're doing is just a drop in the ocean. But without that drop, the ocean would be smaller, be less. How interesting is that? It is so true. One drop would make it smaller. So why do we hesitate then? We're talking about the importance of shining our light, of being human lighthouses, how important it is to carry on with our light, illuminating our path and the path of others. As Emmanuel said, it's impossible to advance without light. Why do we hesitate then? Why do we hesitate to shine our light through acts of love, through acts of knowledge, perhaps sharing knowledge, spreading knowledge, or even just fulfilling our vocation, our talents that God has given us and we have acquired through multiple incarnations? So why do we hesitate? Selfishness sometimes gets in the way. Fear of failure, anxieties, tiredness. All of these things are barriers to us shining our light. And on the way, the truth and the life, this is a message from Intervals, but it says, do not freeze in front of the sublime spectacle the world offers you every day. Sometimes we freeze. And then when we freeze, what happens is we end up not shining our light as we're meant to be, because we're all beings of love. On the message 177 called Conventional Opinions of this book, now this is the way, the truth, and the life, it also talks about another thing that made me think that it's causes of hesitation, which is opinions of others. I'm not going to do that. What are people going to say about me if I do that? How are they going to perceive me? And then we hesitate to be our true selves. So in this message it says, do not become excessively attached to the crowd's judgments. Habit and conventionalism exert a great power over it. Yes. And the message even talks about if you tolerate offenses with love, you're called a coward. If you truly forgive someone, you're considered a fool. If you're not tempted by the earthly pleasures, you're considered abnormal. If you suffer with patience, you're worthless. These are all unconventional opinions, and when we give too much room for that in our own minds, it prevents us from advancing. It prevents us from illuminating our path and the path of others, of shining our own light. So he says, do not become excessively attached to the crowd's judgments. On the topic of obstacles, there are other obstacles that we sometimes face in our own path to illuminate. And on the book Living Spring, it talks about the mission of light. And it says the mission of light is to illuminate roads, scatter darkness, and save lives. A mission that is invariably carried out at the cost of the fuel that feeds it. This is message 105 called "You're the Light" from the book Living Spring. Therefore, if we are to grasp Christ's lesson and are interested in following him, then we must be willing to donate our energies to the ongoing activity of the good, so that the good news may shine on the pathway of redemption for all. So it's talking about fuel, and I said that one of the obstacles that we sometimes face is the tiredness, the lack of fuel perhaps. But remember, we all are beings of light because we are beings of love. We all have our own light, and we all have something to share with the world. And it's talking here about, the candle flame burns the liquefied wax of the wick. The electric light consumes the power from the substation. All these sources of light, they draw it from somewhere. They draw this light from somewhere to be able to shine, to be able to kindle, to illuminate. And so do we. Where do we draw that? From faith, from love, from the belief in God, our belief in God, from all of these things that help us illuminate. And our fuel, if we just think about love, that is one great fuel for illuminating and shining our light. In this book, and we don't have it in English, it's called the Book of Hope. Talks about no one is useless. That's the name of the message. It says, do not wait for apparent greatness to make yourself useful. Yes, mission equals incumbents, and no one exists by chance. To fulfill our mission, we do not need a management position, a brilliant platform, a fortune worth of millions. Let us simply value discipline in our own place with the pleasure of living. And this is yet another obstacle that we face sometimes as humans here still, is waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for the perfect opportunity, for the perfect number in our bank account, for the perfect day where we're going to wake up and it's not going to be raining like it is right now, so we can go ahead and do things that matters, do things that will change the lives of others in our lives. But no one is useless. Mission equals incumbents, and no one exists by chance. We all have something to offer to the world. And then this is the second analogy I'm going to make. The lighthouse was the first one. When I was doing this lecture, I was thinking about these lights, about other people's lights, and about lights in general, how we can utilize the lights of others, but it's not always in the good way. And it made me think of these bugs that are attracted to light. I started to research that, and I found out that they try to orient towards light because of heat, because escaping predators and everything. But what happens if that light goes off? And they're relying on that. And furthermore, they even get dazed and confused by the light, and they go in that direction. So then it got me thinking: what lights are we following in our own lives? Money, fame, beauty. All of these things that are ephemeral, all of these things that will pass, they're not eternal. They don't amount to anything, to be honest, in the end, because it's going to all stay here. Sometimes we're like these bugs, moving towards someone else's light or another light without shining our own light. So the second analogy today, the first was the lighthouse, is for us to be more like fireflies. To shine our own light. They have their own light. And even in the fable where the moon is talking to the firefly, the moon says, your light's so dim, so small. Like, look at my light, the moon was saying. So much, I shine so much brighter. And the firefly said, but my light is my own. And talking about own lights, Jesus, our friend, our mentor, our guide, how many lights have he has he shown, and I said has, not had, has he shown, because he's still among us. These teachings are still illuminating so many people's lives. And Jesus, one of the many things that I appreciate about him, and this idea of the light, is, for instance, the sensibility he had of teaching without blinding, because too much light can blind. And that's another aspect of light as well. Too much light can blind. Let's replace the word light with the word knowledge. Too much knowledge can blind. Can become a burden, can overwhelm someone. And Jesus teaching through what? Parables. Parables utilizing all the things that people in that moment, the farm folk, the social situation of the time that he was here, utilizing all of that so that he was shining the necessary light for people to grasp the concept and not overbearing those who were listening, those who had the pleasure and the honor of listening. And Joanna De Angelis, who's Devaldo's mentor, she says Jesus' presence in the light of the world. Jesus' presence is the light of the world that the world has not used wisely, choosing instead the shadows. And Christ even said, "I'm the light. Whoever follows me will never walk in the darkness." And we should take that to heart, of not walking in the darkness, because the darkness is the absence of light. But then the question becomes how to shine our light. It's nice. I understand that you're saying is everything is nice, shining your light is great, but how do we shine our light? Well, let's look at a few different ways we can shine our light. On the Spiritist book, question 573 says, "In what does the mission of incarnated spirits consists? In instructing men and aiding their advancement, and in ameliorating their institutions by direct material means." So it's talking about mission. And how interesting is that? Because how many stories have we read through the amazing library of books, of Spiritist books, about these people? I'm going to say these people, but that's probably us, that make all these promises, all these plans, come with all these great missions to reincarnate, and then succumb to the challenges of the world. How many? Too many. That's the answer. The heroes, I love this expression that André Luis says. He says, the heroes of promise. Promise, 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 and then come here, we succumb. And the idea of the mission, that we all are unique, we all have our own plan delineated for the incarnation. We all have a mission. And the idea here is not the missionaries. No, we all have our own goals and our own objectives to illuminate ourselves and illuminate the paths of others as well. And it says here that the incarnated spirit is to instruct men to aid in the advancement, so to shine the light. And on the question 675, it talks about this. So the question is, ought we to understand by labor only occupations of a material nature? No. The spirit labors like the body. Every sort of useful occupation is a labor, and I underline useful occupation there. Because, again, do not wait for great things to act. Any useful occupation is labor, and anything done with love, any labor done with love matters, makes a difference. We come here, we have this amazing Spiritist center here. Everything is clean, the floors are clean, the chairs are all there. The books are all in their shelves. Somebody's doing that. And when it's done with love, you can actually feel it. You can see it. Any useful occupation is a labor, and labor done with love is an advancement and can help our world become a better place. Another way we can shine our light through charity, which is, and I put there, it's an act of love. And let me do a parenthesis here. Charity, not only the financial one, which helps as well, but also giving your time, sharing your knowledge, sharing your talents with someone else. It's also an act of charity, and which by result is an act of love. And then the message number 57 of Harvest of Lights, called The Nation in Us, it says, God gave you discernment so that your words can guide the understanding of those who hear you, and that your presence, wherever it may be, becomes a light that dispels the shadow of imbalance in the fog of discord. So God is saying here, this discernment, or like the sense of knowing what is good and what isn't, what really constructs and what really destroys. We have this discernment. We all do in here. And through this discernment, we can use our words and our actions to do what? To guide the understanding of those who hear you, of those who pay attention to you, of those who follow you. And we can use that for the betterment of humanity by sharing our light. The message number 38 talks about to achieve living faith, the daughter of understanding and love, it is necessary to serve. To serve is to make light. To serve is to make light. So when we are serving, when we're trying to advance our world through shining our own light, that's what we're doing. We're making light. And when we're helping others, we're helping ourselves as well. Furthermore, in the book called Always Better by De Luca, he says that the candle cannot be placed under the basket. Take it out of there and put it high, let it shine. The world needs your light. And we will only be happy when our light is shining, when we're channeling our forces to utilize the talents conceded by God to each one of us. This is message number 46, and he finished by saying, do not let pain and suffering extinguish your light. Know instead that it is through the shining of your light that you will stop the suffering. And he's saying here, pain and suffering to dim your light, to extinguish your light, to extinguish that flame we all carry within us, where we passionately love something, a cause it may be, but the obstacles on the way are getting at it and trying to extinguish our flame. And he says, do not let that happen. And we must not let that happen, because the world needs our light. And one thing I'll say here about the talents, and he's saying, and I underline talents there, is because another way to shine our light is through sharing our talents, whatever they might be. Can we think about if Michelangelo was like, no, I don't want to paint, just gonna stay here and maybe work something else. Mozart, this learning piano is too hard, I'm gonna try something else. Right? If Socrates is like, nah, I'm just gonna keep writing, I'm not gonna be teaching and exploring philosophy. Think about all the talents that have offered something unique to humanity that are sometimes still today overlooked, and we're afraid to go there and shine our light, show our true selves through our talents. But we must not forget, we have accumulated a lot of negative qualities, a lot of difficulties through our existences, our multitude of lives, but we have also accumulated knowledge. We've also accumulated talents, developed those things, and the world needs that. It needs us, because we are unique and our light is unique. And another thing that's interesting too is when we're thinking about light is what? The one who turns on the light is the first to be illuminated. Look how beautiful that is. So when we're turning our light to someone else, as we see like on the picture perhaps, we are the first ones to get illuminated. When we turn on our light, when we let it shine, we're getting illuminated ourselves first and foremost. In the book Living Spring, message 154, that's called No One Lives Solely for Himself, it talks about our contribution, the light that we can shine. So it says, the torch you light will illuminate not only the pathway at your own feet, but also the path for those with you. Thousands of eyes watch your footsteps. Thousands listen to your voice, and thousands of hearts receive your encouragement to do good or evil. Look at the responsibility here. Thousands. He's not saying a handful. He's saying thousands of people are looking at what we're doing, how we're behaving, what sort of things are coming out of our mouth, what sort of actions are we doing. Thousands. So we have that responsibility, because he even says here, to do good or evil. Whether we like it or not, the law demands that our lives be connected to the lives of those around us. The law of society. These laws that are immutable by God. We are the example to someone. We are always being watched and heard. So it is a responsibility for what we do. It brings that responsibility that we should bear with pride. And we should embrace that. And let our light shine, however form your light may take. Let it shine. And on the book Happy Life, which we always read a message in the beginning, Susanna read a message today. It also mentions some of these ideas of being the example to someone and about our contribution. So it says here, in any group project, all elements are equally important to the expected results. And by group project here, let's understand humanity's advancement. Living in this world, being in this incarnation that we are in right now, and our role in that advancement. When one person finds balance, harmony appears in the entire group. Because we're all interconnected. The incarnated and the discarnated, we're just on different sides of perhaps a door. Just imagine that. We're all interconnected. And this, again, brings responsibility, but that's great, because that means that we can shine our light, change our own courses, and change the courses of others through our light. Even if you do not realize you're an example to someone. This is, I put in quotations here because this is what it says in the message. You are an example to someone. Which is congruent to what we saw with the Living Spring, just the previous slide, about thousands watching us. Yes, we are an example to someone, even if we don't realize that we are an example to someone, we are. So let's use that knowledge to shine our light, to remember, and I put here that your light is unique. It's not a platitude. Your light is unique. What you have, what you can bring to the world, to humanity's advancement is unique. So let's face those obstacles, overcome those barriers and those challenges, and let our light shine strong. And hopefully, when we're all shining our lights very strong, very brightly, the spirits from high up above can look at us and maybe see something like this. Thank you very much.
Very nice. Very nice.
Oh, I hope everyone is feeling a little bit more enlightened. I love it, and I think it's so important because it is so easy to lose touch with the fact that light is our essence. We live in a world where we are so deeply disconnected from that truth that we see very extensive levels of distress, depression, frustration, hopelessness, and what appears to be true darkness. For whoever is in darkness, that seems very real. So I love these Sunday meetings. It helps us to take a moment in our week to reconnect, to be reminded of what is essential, and gives us that boost to go back into another week, reframing, reconnecting with what is the truth about who we truly are, children of God, and as such, divine beings with light and definitely worth. So with that, we are going now to the second part of our meeting. So if you're following us online, this is a time where you can go on or you can stay with us. It's a time for the prayer and for the passes. So if you're home, you can have your water next to you. You can do your own prayers. The good spirits are everywhere, here at the center, wherever we are. And once we put ourselves in a position to pray and to connect, and we open our souls, the benefits are absorbed because they're always available to us. So let's do a short prayer. I'm going to ask the past givers to please stand up. And again, it's just an invitation, it's an energy, transmission of energy, of the blessings. We invite each one to do their own prayers as a way of helping to connect and to just if we want to see the sun coming through those windows, we would have to open them, the blinds. We do the same mentally with our own souls. So, dear Father, here we are after this beautiful, beautiful lecture, this very nurturing content that was delivered to us today. At this time, we open our hearts, we surrender to your love, and we acknowledge the blessings, and we ask you to allow the good spirits who are here, our benefactors, to inspire, to involve the past givers, and help them to transmit the love that is available to us. Help each one of us to connect with you as well. And so be it.
Amen.
So let's close the way on final prayer. Dear Father, thank you so much for the blessings of today. As always, we ask you to help each one of us to remain connected to the message in our minds and in our hearts, being able each day to manifest more and more what we learn and what we hear in here. We ask you to help us to remember who we truly are and to bring that truth to our living, to our relating, to our feelings and emotions. We ask you to bless each one of us as we go on with our weeks, so that we can indeed shine our lights, remembering the beauty that characterizes each one of us, and spreading hope in this world where so many are so lost. Please bless our homes, our loved ones, any person we may know to be in distress, to be having a difficult time. We think of their names and we ask you to be with them, blessing them, helping them, bringing the light to them so they too can see. Once more, we are very thankful for the opportunity that we had to be here today. And we close our meeting expressing our gratitude and asking you once more to help us to remain connected to our own commitment to love ourselves and to continue to give ourselves only the very best. Thank you so much, and so be it.
Amen.
All right, dear friends, we are closing our meeting today. If you're watching us, have a wonderful time. And for all of us who are here today, I just want to share with you that we have happening today